Adolf Hitler, the infamous dictator who led Nazi Germany during World War II, was born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a small town in Austria-Hungary, now Austria. He was the fourth of 6 children born to Alois Hitler and Clara Hitler, née Polzel. Adolf's father worked as a customs official, while his mother was a homemaker. Adolf Hitler spent his early childhood in Braunau am Inn, where his family resided in a modest apartment. The town, situated near the German border, was a quiet and predominantly Catholic community. Although not wealthy, the Hitlers lived a relatively comfortable life, thanks to Alois's stable income. However, young Adolf's early years were marred by the loss of 3 siblings who died in infancy, leaving him and his younger sister, Paula, as the only surviving children. In 1895, when Adolf was 6 years old, the family moved to Linz, a larger city in Upper Austria. It was in Linz that Adolf Hitler began attending school. As a child, he displayed average academic performance, but he exhibited a keen interest in German history and developed a fascination with art. Hitler's passion for drawing and painting flourished during this time, and he dreamed of becoming a professional artist in the future. The Hitler family's neighborhood in Linz was a bustling urban area with a mix of residential and commercial spaces. It provided young Adolf with exposure to a more diverse population compared to his earlier years in Braunau am Inn. As he grew older, Hitler's experiences in Linz would shape his perceptions of society, nationalism, and anti-Semitism, ultimately influencing his political ideology in later years. In 1903, when Hitler was 14, his father passed away. The loss of his father had a profound impact on Adolf, who became increasingly rebellious and struggled with discipline in school. His academic performance declined, and he eventually dropped out of school altogether at the age of 16. Following his departure from formal education, Hitler moved to Vienna in 1907, hoping to gain admission to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. However, his dreams of becoming an artist were shattered when he failed the entrance examination twice. Vienna, the vibrant capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was a melting pot of cultures, ideologies, and political movements. It was during this period that Hitler became exposed to various nationalist and anti-Semitic ideas that were prevalent in the city. Struggling to find his purpose, Hitler faced poverty and homelessness during his time in Vienna, living in men's hostels and relying on occasional odd jobs for survival. Adolf Hitler's formative years in Braunau am Inn, Linz, and Vienna laid the groundwork for his future political career. The experiences, both positive and negative, that he encountered within his family, schools, and neighborhoods shaped his worldview and played a significant role in the development of his extreme nationalist and anti-Semitic beliefs. Little did the world know at the time that this young, aspiring artist would eventually rise to power, leading to one of the darkest periods in human history. Adolf Hitler's entry into politics can be traced back to his experiences in Vienna, where he was exposed to various nationalist and anti-Semitic ideologies. Frustrated by his failures as an artist and struggling to find his purpose, Hitler began attending political meetings and became deeply involved in far-right nationalist circles. In 1919, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, DAP, a small political group that espoused nationalist and anti-Semitic views. He quickly rose through the ranks, demonstrating his charisma and oratory skills, and eventually became the party's leader. Hitler renamed the party as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, more commonly known as the Nazi Party. Under Hitler's leadership, the Nazi Party adopted a radical agenda, combining extreme nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-communism. Hitler's powerful speeches and charismatic personality attracted a growing number of followers, particularly among disaffected veterans and those affected by the economic turmoil and political instability following World War I. In 1923, Hitler staged a failed coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch in Munich, an attempt to seize power from the Bavarian government. The coup was swiftly crushed by the authorities, and Hitler was arrested and imprisoned. During his imprisonment, he wrote his political manifesto, Mein Kampf, My Struggle, which outlined his ideology and vision for Germany. After his release from prison in 1924, Hitler rebuilt the Nazi Party and focused on gaining political power through legal means. He utilized propaganda and mass rallies to further his message and attract supporters. Hitler capitalized on the economic hardships and widespread discontent in Germany, promising to restore national pride, rebuild the economy, and reverse the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles, which had imposed significant reparations and territorial losses on Germany following World War I. In the early 1930s, the Nazi Party gained electoral success, largely due to the Great Depression and the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic. In 1933, Hitler was appointed as Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg. Through political maneuvering and exploiting the Reichstag fire, Hitler consolidated his power and transformed Germany into a totalitarian state. During his reign, Hitler implemented a series of policies that had far-reaching and devastating consequences. He pursued an aggressive foreign policy, seeking to expand Germany's territory and establish a racially homogeneous Greater Germany. Hitler's imperialistic ambitions led to the annexation of Austria, Anschluss, in 1938, and the occupation of Czechoslovakia. In 1939, Hitler's invasion of Poland triggered the outbreak of World War II. Over the next 6 years, Nazi Germany occupied large parts of Europe, subjecting millions of people to brutal occupation, persecution, and genocide. Hitler's regime implemented systematic discrimination and persecution of Jews, leading to the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews and millions of others were systematically murdered. Hitler's regime also imposed strict control over German society, suppressing dissent and establishing a cult of personality around Hitler himself. Political opponents, including communists, socialists, trade unionists, and intellectuals, were persecuted and often sent to concentration camps. However, as the tide of the war turned against Germany, Hitler's leadership grew increasingly erratic and delusional. In the final months of the war, as Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Hitler retreated into his bunker, and on April 30th, 1945, he committed suicide. Adolf Hitler's reign was characterized by extreme nationalism, racial hatred, and totalitarianism. His actions and policies led to the deaths of millions of people and left a dark legacy that still haunts the world today. The atrocities committed under his regime serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the consequences of hatred and intolerance. Adolf Hitler's downfall began in 1942 when Germany faced a series of military defeats on the Eastern Front and in North Africa. The tide of the war began turning against Nazi Germany as the Allied forces, led by the Soviet Union, the United States, and the United Kingdom, gained momentum. In 1944, an assassination attempt on Hitler, known as the July Plot, failed to kill him, but further weakened his grip on power. As the Allied forces advanced into Germany, Hitler's health deteriorated, and he increasingly withdrew from public view. In April 1945, with Berlin under siege, Hitler retreated to his underground bunker, the Führer Bunker, located beneath the Reich Chancellery. On April 30th, 1945, sensing the imminent defeat of Germany, Hitler took his own life. He shot himself in the head while simultaneously biting into a cyanide capsule. His longtime companion, Eva Braun, whom he had married the day before, also took her own life by ingesting poison. Their bodies were then carried to the garden of the Reich Chancellery, where they were burned in accordance with Hitler's orders. Soviet forces discovered the charred remains of Hitler and Braun on May 4, 1945. However, due to the chaotic circumstances and the rapid advance of the Red Army, there were initial doubts and rumors about Hitler's fate. To dispel any doubts, the Soviet authorities conducted further investigations and autopsies on the remains. In May 1945, the remains were secretly buried in a location known as the Smersh facility in Magdeburg, Germany. In 1970, as the Soviet Union was preparing to return the remains of Hitler and Braun to Germany, they were exhumed, cremated, and the ashes were scattered in an undisclosed location. The Soviet authorities aimed to prevent Hitler's grave from becoming a site of pilgrimage for Nazi sympathizers. The fate of Hitler's body has remained a subject of speculation and conspiracy theories over the years. However, based on the available evidence and the accounts of witnesses and investigators involved, it is widely accepted that Hitler's remains were cremated and the ashes scattered, leaving no physical trace of his final resting place.